It's time for this week's Here's How. And this week, here's how to make Emily Dridbit turn her back on God so that she won't be able to bother you in heaven. Keep inviting the local priests and vicars over to your house for parties whenever you have a gathering. Blast out hymns from the old stereo you inherited from your parents and all get pissed up on wine. If you keep doing this, she is bound to start seeing men of the cloth in a negative light. She might even try to confront some of them over her unpainted, unmatching fence panel that she tried to make you pay for. If you get them pissed enough, the holy men might be able to put in a word with the big guy about making sure she can't bother you in the afterlife. Develop a secret language using air horns. Only speak to whoever's in your house using them to make as much noise as possible, because she only needs to say the Lord's name once in vain in exasperation and she's fucked. When she gets the children christened and the priest asks the crowd, "If anyone here knows of any lawful reason as to why this child can't be baptised, speak now or forever hold your peace." You stand up and accuse her of witchcraft, citing all the blood rituals you think she's been performing and all the premarital sex she's conducted in order to birth half a rugby team's worth of children. Keep slipping alternative sources of a word into a letterbox, anything you can find. Those leaflets that the old women in town give out, USB sticks with video recordings of that fella that stands outside the pound shop, and screams about why you're all going to go to hell. Maybe knock up a few pamphlets of your own with your own version of the Ten Commandments titled New and Improved. Who knows, if you can find the time, you could even start writing the next testament that turns the New Testament on its head and leads her to a life of sin in God's eyes, all while she believes she's following the Word. Keep dropping a shiny pound coin outside her house so that her or one of her children can find it. In the eyes of the law, that's theft, as she's taking something that isn't hers, and theft in the eye of the Lord is stealing. Then she's breaking one of the big 10. You could try and find various other sneaky ways to make her break the other 9. Take sexy photos of all your neighbours and distribute them in a calendar. You're looking to make Emily Dridbit get a wide on, so the sexier the better. Then she's coveting her neighbours' wives. Maybe you want to keep getting nice sparkly new things. How about you get a brand new car on a few credit cards and put a personalised plate on it that reads DR1D81T. Dridbit. She's bound to want that for herself. Then she's also coveting your goods and breaking another. You can't make her commit adultery because she clearly doesn't have a husband, but I bet you could pay her and her many, many children to say to an actress that you've paid to be your girlfriend, to say that you haven't been cheating on her with all the prostitutes that she keeps seeing coming out of your house. Of course, you then have to be shagging the brasses and all, meaning you'll have to be spending an awful lot of money on this because then she'd lie into her neighbours. But you don't want to get cheap ones either and catch something or, have them be inexperienced. But for eternal happiness and the knowledge that Emily Dridbit definitely can't be your neighbour in the afterlife, I bet you're willing to spend that extra bit of cash. Get a shady priest off Fiverr to consecrate and then a second shadier priest to deconsecrate a garden. That way, any blessings that she's accrued might get wiped or maybe she'll be cursed. Since the Catholic Church started to clean house, there are loads of priests out there looking for work and they'll probably jump at the chance to be able to work again. Keep giving her money. Just keep giving her coins, notes, make her the wealthiest woman in the avenue. Jesus said it's easier to get a camel through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich person to get into heaven. They say money isn't the key to happiness, but they also say you can't take it with you, and by giving away all of your money to Emily Dridbit whilst making her richer makes you much better than her and more likely to go to heaven than she is because you've done a good deed. Buy loads of microwaves and remove the doors and insert something into each of the door catches so that it's still going to emit the radiation into the box. Then what you're going to do is you're going to stack them all up like those stick figure box toys that you'd see on the telly in the early noughties, except instead of stick men going to visit each other and messing around on the screens, you're forcing dangerous waves of cancer into her child's bedroom wall. If the kid gets ill, she's going to start to wonder how God could do this to a little kid. Maybe not good for you karmically, but luckily that isn't something you believe in, so you won't be affected. Bury a nosepipe in your garden so the end of it's under the dividing fence between your back gardens. Then, every time you're home and it rains, turn that hose on so her garden gets particularly flooded and waterlogged, leaching any useful chemicals and minerals in the garden away to kill all of the flowers and grass that grows up between the patio flags. After a year or so, that ripped up trampoline in her garden and that washing machine she's left there should become a bit submerged in the mud, and every day she looks out of that kitchen window, she won't be reminded of the beauty of the world. Instead, she'll be thinking that it's all ugly and unfair, making her doubt God's wisdom and denying his majesty. This will mean that he isn't held in a high regard by her, and he's going to be less likely to tell St. Peter to let her in. Maybe next time you're in church, you swap out the hymn sheets. Something a bit more poppy. Songs that you've switched the words to, so that whilst you're in the Lord's house, you can hear some of Emily Dridbit's Dirty Laundry. Maybe you want to reword that Bruce Springsteen I'm on fire song. My neighbour Em's drawing pentagrams, lighting 60 candles in her home, I think. She's contacting a new plane, trying to reach the Demon King. Cutting chickens' heads off in her back bedroom, teaching her kids about pagan runes, salt rings, sacrifices and things mortals shouldn't understand. And then the organ player gets a little solo, you see, and she gets to feel involved. Maybe something a bit like Emily's hosting orgies with people off the block. 20 people wearing dog masks, everyone's renouncing God. There's a guy called Dave, they call the under crunk. I don't know what that could mean, but he dresses like a couch. That Paramore song. And that's the end of this week's Here's How.